What's up, everybody? King Triple C here, the Olympic champion, flyweight champion, the bantamweight champion of the world. And I got a public service announcement to all you wannabe MMA casuals or MMA fans for that reason. You guys make sure to listen to my boy Story of the Fight with Will and Miro. You know why? Because Triple C said so. And if you don't, you can do me a favor and you can bend the knee to King Triple C 2.
I mean, Joe Lozon made his debut against fucking what's his name? Why can't I think of his name? Jens Pulver.
Oh, true, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy.
True. It is. But yeah, man, what'd you think of Fight Island 6?
Dude, I was so stoked for this whole card. Like every single fight on this card was like had an interesting aspect to it, like something to like make it worth watching. Yeah, moment of silence though.
R.I.P.
Could have had Cyril Gane versus Ante Dalia. Could have got Volkan Ozdemir versus Nikita Krylov. Let's see. Shamil Abdurakhimov versus Cyril Gane was supposed to be on it. This one, Magomed Mustafayev versus Renato Moicano would have been cool. Jessica Andrade versus Jessica I, the battle of Jessicas. Rest in peace.
The battle of the Jessicas. R.I.P. Another moment of silence. Another week come and gone.
Yep. Cyril Gane, man.
I feel like
I just want to see him fight so bad. It sucks because he hasn't withdrawn from one. He's had like
just different circumstances.
He's had like 5 opponents pull out in a row. It's crazy. They're trying to get him Junior Dos Santos, which is, I don't know, maybe too much. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. I know you wanted to start it off with Gamrot versus again. I'm not even gonna try the last name.
Kutateladze.
Kutateladze.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Maybe.
No,
and then next time I try to pronounce it's going to be way off. Kutateladze. What'd you think of that fight, though?
Dude, this fight, I think it was both their debuts, right? At least UFC debuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
What a way to, just, show up. This fight was one of those ones where, win or lose, your stock doesn't go down. It's like, okay, here's someone to pay attention to. Decision was not the best decision. I thought Gamrot got it, but
same here,
same everywhere.
And that's what I wanted to mention to you.
Yeah.
And I called you instead of texting you, because I usually text you, and I freaking called you just because I was so pissed off and frustrated. And I just thought it was super cool how Guram at the end was like, "Hey, this is number one bullshit."
Yeah.
Which, by the way, this is an area of the country in the world where everybody just says number one bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's all
you overhear somebody say that and you steer clear. You don't start anything.
Oh yeah.
Someone who says that.
There's warning signs. You hear the rattle from a rattlesnake and somebody say number one bullshit and you're like, oh fuck, I gotta stay away. But the fact that, on TV in the middle of an interview after he gets the W, after he gets a nod, to say I didn't win that fight.
Yeah.
I told Gamrot over there. And then he points at him. He's like, I told you this is your fight.
Back.
Yeah, my dog.
Yeah.
But man, just for him to put that on blast, and I hope that the judges in this case, right, look at each other and are like,
whoops,
we might not be so good at what we're doing right now.
It was split, right? Yeah, it was split. Okay, so
yeah,
one judge had it right.
True, but yeah, so that judge was like, what were y'all looking at?
Yeah. He's like, that's right.
But
stands up.
For the fighter to say, I didn't win that fight. I got taken down so many times. This was his fight. I thought that was one of the coolest things that I've seen in a while in the UFC. Really wholesome, and just says a lot about this guy's character. And Gamrot still put on an amazing performance, I thought.
Dude, he had to dig deep in that one. I didn't think he was going to win that, to be honest. And then once you see him, he just put it in another gear pretty much. He just outworked him. It was super sick. It was a cool matchup, style wise. They both had answers for things. Were adapting to things, and
Yeah.
Yeah, he just put it in another gear though. I'm excited to watch him fight. Super excited.
And for Gamrot, I believe this was his first loss.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, I believe he's 17-1 now. He went in 17-0.
Yeah.
He was a heavy favorite too. I want to say minus 300 or something like that for Gamrot. Just based off of him going in 17-0, right? Some would call it a 17-fight win streak, Will.
Some would. Some would call it an 18-fight win streak.
I would still say it is.
Yeah.
But I figured, okay, this would probably be a good fighter to pick. So I picked him yesterday when I was going through and making my picks. Just didn't work out for him.
Yeah.
Thanks to some judging. It was a good fight though.
Yeah, it was a really super fun fight. Poland all of a sudden have some up and coming guys. You got a champ now.
Yep.
Former champ, prospect. Yeah,
a lot of good fighters, man.
Yeah.
A lot of good fighters. And I think that the more popularity UFC gains, the longer that mixed martial arts is around.
Yeah.
We're going to continue seeing fighters out of Poland, France, a lot of places that you probably wouldn't necessarily consider hotspots.
Yeah, well, I mean,
for MMA talent.
You think when Joanna was champion, I mean, she was so dominant and just so I think she was the first fully developed female fighter. It was just it wasn't even just that. She was the only fighter only female fighter that dominated when there was the huge skill gap in women's MMA. And then, I mean, her division is so hard now, but even after it was transitioning to fully developed mixed martial artist in that division, she was still dominant. So it's not all of a sudden the game caught up to her and she was outclassed and done like some other fighters. But,
I mean, even her last fight, right?
Yeah, she's still fantastic. I thought she won.
That was.
Against Zhang Wei Li, I thought she won that fight. It was close. I'm not going to say it was a huge robbery or anything like that, but I thought she won. But
yeah,
I wasn't mad at the decision. But I'm also a huge Joanna fan.
Joanna champion. But I still think that she is one of the top talents, not just in that division or in women's mixed martial arts, just in the UFC in general.
Yeah, same.
I love watching her fight. Always exciting fights.
Her division is my favorite division in the UFC. It's so good.
Oh dang,
dude, it's so good. Look at the champion fights. The championship fights in that division are insane, dude. And then I'm bummed that Andrade moved up, to be honest, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But you look at Joanna when she has her reign. I'm sure there's a bunch of Polish people who are see that and it inspires them. And then Jan becomes champion, and there's going to be even more now. And Poland's going to be a hotbed, I think.
I love it. All right, we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Almeida versus Jonathan Martinez.
I was surprised you picked Almeida in this one, to be honest.
Yeah, I know Jonathan Martinez looked pretty good on his last fight. Mm-hmm. I was on the fence between both of them. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was just I've seen Almeida fight a lot more. I knew what he brought in more consistently than Jonathan Martinez. I think this was his third fight that I've watched him in. Mm-hmm. So I just went with what I felt more comfortable picking, but Jonathan Martinez looked good his last fight. And man, his striking looks so crisp.
Dude, he
so
looks
quick.
He looks like he's completely found his stride. Every time he fights, it's oh shit, man, this guy's even better. Oh, he's even better.
Looking better.
And then, I mean, this is by far the best striker that he's fought. And Moicano's tough. But I think he's kind of lost a step. So this was a very good time to throw Jonathan Martinez in there to kind of be hey, check out this new kid. I think they gave him Almeida saying, hey, look, this is a winnable fight for Martinez. If he outclasses him right now, it's going to start turning some heads. And man, Martinez,
more people taking notice.
Yeah, every time he fights, it's so exciting, dude. Even when he loses, he's just so exciting. And now he's starting to really put things together, and just almost everything he throws, he lands, and it's just man, he's fun to watch, man.
His post-fight interview was awesome too, where DC's trying to get him to call somebody out. Yeah, he reminded me so much of Ricky Bobby. I was just waiting for him to be I don't know what to do with my hands.
Dude, wait, can we go back to the last fight
his face
with DC? DC as the in the cage interviewer is hilarious. Did you,
dude? He's money.
He was like, you gotta call somebody out. You gotta do it. And he's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then when he was interviewing Kutateladze, he was like walking away, like not trying to interview. He was like, no, come on, it's interview time. It's interview time. Come on. And like grabbed him and over. And then
dude,
at the end,
anything DC touches right now is gold.
Dude, did you see at the end?
Turns into gold.
At the end, he was like, he was looking at him, and he was like, all right, Guram, Kutateladze, everybody. And then he turns to walk away and just walks right into the camera. Dude, just so funny.
DC, he's just so lovable, man.
Yeah.
Because he seems just like a normal dude.
Yeah.
That happens to have one of the coolest jobs out there. Mm-hmm. He seems relatable. And I think that's why everybody just gravitates to him now.
He's humble.
Right?
He has no right to be humble. If he was the cockiest guy in the world, he'd be like, yeah, you know what? He earned that. But he's so awful. Dan Hardy's like saying things. He's like, I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Oh, yeah. When he's like something about a cheeky
left hook.
Man, I heard you say so. Yeah, cheeky left hook, and I was like, what does that mean? And I was just like, and then he's all repeating the stuff that the other guy was saying, like with his accent. He's like, man, I love your accent. Dude, I'm telling you, anything that guy touches right now turns to gold.
Yeah, who is Dan Hardy talking about? Damn, I don't remember who he talked. He mentioned someone from history, and DC was like, "I've heard of this guy, but who's that guy?
Yeah.
What did he say? I forgot who it was. Damn it, that was so funny.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
He's like, he was the one that charged through the mountains with the elephants, to take down the Roman Empire, and he's like, oh, he's like, I'm gonna have to do a history lesson. Oh, it's so funny,
man. So funny. But yeah, hey, props to Jonathan Martinez.
Yeah, man.
And for sticking to his guns of not wanting to call anybody out.
Yeah.
Even when he's getting pressured by the former champ out there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, somebody that we're going to have to keep our eyes on.
Yeah, well, I mean, this was he missed weight his last fight, and this is him in a upper division. He moved up to featherweight after missing weight. So I wonder if they decided, like, hey, that's a hard cut for you. Let's just bulk and move up.
And we talked to Coach D about that on his interview.
Yeah.
And Coach D said that he's worked with him before, and he was saying that not sure where that came from, whether it was a really tough cut or whether he was sick or something. But based off the fact that he decided to move up, it's probably just too much for him, huh?
Yeah, and I mean, dude, clearly he wasn't undersized. Almeida's like a legit guy. I mean, actually, you know what? Almeida's also fought at bantamweight, I'm pretty sure. Didn't he fight Cody Garbrandt?
You might be right.
This was actually so this was Almeida's first featherweight fight in at least 5 years. So I don't know if he's ever fought at featherweight before, to be honest. So this might have just been two bantamweights without a weight cut. But
hey, good job to the matchmakers for this one, huh?
Yeah, man, great fight. And Almeida, he caught him a couple times, and Martinez, and that's what's cool about this fight is Martinez is putting it all together, landing everything he's throwing, landing big shots. He wobbled Almeida in every round, but still Almeida wobbled him a few times, and he stayed right in the pocket, stayed right in the fire, kept coming forward. So it's cool to see him. Now he's passed that test. What is he like when he gets hurt? Does he give up?
Mm-hmm.
No, he just keeps coming forward. So it was cool to see. That I always like seeing people get tested when they look like they're unbeatable and everything they throw lands and they're coming from every different angle, all this stuff. But I still want to see what's their heart like. You know, like are they gritty enough to overcome the when they get hurt? So
yeah, and that's pretty much
test.
what you were talking about too with the God, what's that heavyweight's name that we just watched last weekend? Really good. I don't know. We'll go back to it later. But you're right, because when we talk about the fighters and we talk about them, their performance in the octagon, their striking. When we see them go through some easy fights, it's like, okay, we get to see what skill sets they're showcasing.
Yeah.
But when they're faced with adversity in there, and the way that they bounce back, kind of lets you know what to expect from them as they're moving up in the ranks.
Yeah, 100%. It's just I want to see, because you're not going to go through if the goal is to be champion, right? It's not going to be easy, and you're gonna get tested. So
it was Aspinall, by the way.
Aspinall. There it is. Good job.
It was Aspinall, by the way.
I was struggling.
Yeah, I read notes. I read my notes. All right, so next one. Claudio Silva versus James Krause.
Yeah, the James Krause. This was...
And I'm very upset at myself, Will. Because I went with Silva.
Yeah.
Against my best judgment. Because I actually really, really like James Krause. Mm-hmm. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm always a fan of the tough fighters. Mm-hmm. And I mean, James Krause was doing it even before tough.
Yeah.
But I always get to... When I watch tough, I get to see another side of fighters I usually don't get to see when they're just doing the walkout to the octagon and fighting. And something that I learned about James Krause is that he's kind of just unapologetically himself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, definitely.
When dude was painting his toenails, like, hey, dude, you do you, man.
Yeah.
Before he goes into fights and stuff like that. But it's like he's like, this is me. Love me or hate me, this is what you get, and I don't really care what anybody else says.
So funny,
and that attitude is something that I kind of like.
Funny story about the painting the toenails. That's an old school MMA thing. Like Chuck Liddell used to do it. Like all kinds of guys used to do that, and to the point where there was a company that was. This is early in the MMA days, so I doubt they were making money with this marketing scheme, but they were. they sold nail polish and like nail paints. But their marketing scheme was, this is fight paint. Like, this is for fighters. And they had...
dang.
Yeah, dude. And they had... Roger Huerta was one of their, ambassadors.
Roger Huerta,
yeah,
dude.
Dime piece. And so, he's on...
There's a name you don't hear very often, and he was fantastic.
Yeah, it really was. In street fights, too. If you see... I don't remember what the brand was, but they're like... they said that it was like armor for your nails so that your nails never got pulled off or chipped during fights. I swear to God, man.
That's awesome.
This was probably in 2009 or so. It's so funny, dude. But yeah, that's the nail paint, dude.
That's so sick, man. It's armor.
Yeah, I wish.
So for anybody that just throws a leg kick and their nail comes off or something accidentally, they're like, fuck, I forgot to paint my nails.
Should have painted my nails. Yeah. Chris Levin used to paint his.
So awesome.
All the old school guys used to paint their nails. But yeah, man, I wish I could find that website. It's probably doesn't exist anymore. But fuck, dude, that was so funny.
They probably did make it.
They probably did make it, man. That's not a good marketing scheme.
But dude, I thought James Krause looked fantastic. Mm-hmm. His counters were on point.
He fought with one leg.
Yeah, and at the end of the first round, he says, right, my knees tore up.
Yeah.
And I love the corner. He's like, you okay? Okay, so let's start talking about something else, right? Off the bat.
Montoya, man,
these guys know they're...
He fell under a lot of scrutiny with Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira when he's knocking teeth out, takes his tooth out of his mouth, hands it to the ref. Mark Montoya kept it going. A lot of people were like, he should have called that fight, but it's like, you don't know what their relationship is. You don't know how much he knows him or how well he knows him.
I was about to say, they know their fighters so well.
Krause was also in that corner, and he also said, "Nah, we're not going to do that with him." So when he said that, I was like, well, he has the best coach to keep letting him fight. So the coach should be like, "Oh, your knees fucked up? We're done."
Yeah. Hey, God gave you two knees for a reason, buddy. Get back out there.
Yeah.
But man, even after he was a little more flat-footed. You could tell second and third round. But he continued having the step back right counter.
Yeah.
To Silva's left hook, which was money.
Silva
and it
just
kept
had
on
no
fighting its
answer
own
with that.
over and over and over again.
Yeah. The problem is once the knee's gone, there was he wasn't able to land the follow-up shots off that counter. Mm-hmm. It was very much stick and move, stick and move. Never hit him once good, come up with an uppercut or follow up with it, but yeah, man, he was just the matador the whole fight, pretty much. Yeah, impressed that he was able to get him off his back.
You saw that picture I sent you. So, whenever I'm watching a fighter that I really, really enjoy watching and love, dude, I'm like a kid.
Yeah.
Because I'll stand right in front of the TV and I'll just be watching it. And my wife's like, what are you doing? So she takes a picture of me and she texts it to me. And I'm like, as soon as the round's over, I look at my phone, like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you taking pictures of me right now? But it was hilarious.
Yeah. Dude, did you hear his post fight, or not post fight, but like the press conference style interview with
when he's
Krause?
talking about Joaquin Buckley?
Where did that come
I was just
from?
about to mention that too. I don't know, but he called him and I quote, shitbox.
Yeah. He said the dude's a clown,
just a
man. Dude's a shitbox.
Again,
He asked me if he could come train. I told him to get fucked, and he took offense to that. I would too. I was like, hey, dude, can I train at your gym? Get fucked. I'm like, oh, all right, dude, fuck you.
Hey, nice talking to you, buddy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
No, but again, he's just being himself, being honest.
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
and
I mean, and also,
I love that.
he's probably trying to kind of set up a fight, and he's not like the most like eloquent at like building the hype and doing that whole Chael Sonnen and Conor McGregor style thing. So he's probably like, hey, this guy's got a bunch of shine on him. I'll throw my name in there. Let's start some beef right there.
And dude, and when you think about it, that's actually not a bad fight. I mean,
I would watch it.
I would love that fight.
Yeah.
You know, Buckley coming out. You know, he always hits the ground running in the first round, and seeing how Krause was able to counter a lot of these big shots from Silva. I wonder how he'd be able to counter some of those shots from Buckley. And I mean, Krause has a lot of experience, man.
Yeah,
a lot of
ton of experience.
So
the only thing is,
I wonder how that would work out.
Yeah, I wonder what's wrong with his knee. Because if his knee gives out in a fight against Buckley, he's not weathering the storm anymore. He's not going to do that. He was very lucky that Silva's striking is amateur. Rudimentary, not the most refined. They even talked about if Silva made the most simple adjustment of switching to straight punches in the later half of that round or fight, it would have been a completely different fight. But he didn't make that adjustment.
And you did see that a couple times.
Yeah,
where he went in with
times.
the straight left instead of the hooking the left.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, there is a straight.
Yeah.
He just needs to do that more. And then he started going back to that left hook. And it's like, well, whatever, dude.
I guess that's not as successful as we thought.
Yeah, and I believe that was Silva's first official loss, because he has one loss on his record, but that was from illegal elbows to the back of the head to somebody.
Yeah.
A la John Jones.
Yeah.
So it was his first actual loss for Silva. So
yeah, and you think about it, that loss was in
Krause.
2007, so long time ago.
Man. Dude, this next fighter, Jim Crute.
Yeah, Jimmy Crute. This dude's sick. I was to see every fight on this
Bukauskas.
card. Yeah, every fight on this card, I was like, "There's somebody to watch. There's somebody to watch. There's history here. There's someone to watch there." Like, it was such a cool card. It was such a good, well, put together card. Would have been nice for
good job,
Cyril Gain, but
Nick Maynard.
Oh well.
With and this is one that I posted on Instagram, Will.
Yeah.
Where right away, right after the knockout, he sits down, puts his arm around him. Right away, I knew okay, dude, they're gonna pull you off. But just such an awesome gesture, right?
Yeah.
You two just try to kill each other in the octagon. He hits him with some gnarly shots, man, to put him out.
Dude, he just switches it on so quick and so accurate, man, to land. So he counters the kick, lands the heavy shot that wobbles him. As he's getting up, he hits him with another one, drops him. As he's getting up, hits him with the uppercut, drops him. It's dude, he missed one time and all 5 follow-up shots in a scramble, only one miss. And it's just that's impressive, dude. That's to be able to be a sharpshooter in that moment is super rare. Super rare.
Yeah, man. It's got some power.
Yeah.
Right, and again, whenever a fighter shows respect like that afterwards, I'm all about it. I love it when they talk shit leading up to the build-ups, and I know that when you're actually locked in there with somebody in an octagon, very similar to jiu-jitsu, right, where you and I we're cool before, but I feel as soon as we started trying to choke each other and break each other's limbs, we got a lot closer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when you start going through stuff like that with other people, there's a bond that's built, and I love seeing that afterwards. And again, for him to sit down, put his arm around him, just a really awesome gesture. And it just reminded me, man, I just love this sport.
Yeah,
and it's such a good.
There's
sport,
there's another moment like that later on in the night too, but it's just, I mean, who do you fight? What was his name? Bukauskas? Damn, that's a tough one. Modestas. He fought Modestas.
Bukauskas?
He doesn't really have any input in that moment, right? But it's a lot better than dry humping him after. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. I agree with you 100%. And that's the polar opposite. That's the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, we can talk about that later.
Yeah, it's nice to see though with light heavyweight, someone like Jimmy Crute really emerging and taking it all in stride. And he even talked about. He said he was chasing the takedown early, but he defended it well. And he was like, a younger me would have got locked in that mindset of, oh, he defended my takedown, now I need to get him down, and he would have just kept chasing that takedown. And he was like, but now I've like gained a little bit of experience. I feel more comfortable in here, and so I know, hey, that he stuffed that takedown. Back to the game plan. Just back to the game plan. Mm-hmm. We're just gonna revert back to that instead of get all lost in my head and start chasing things that aren't there. And that was cool. It's cool to see fighters become like self-aware about stuff like that, especially in the moment in the fight. That's when get ready for some strides to be made, because that division isn't the most stacked. So there's a path for him to just skyrocket up if he continues to get knockouts like this.
What do you think about him versus Johnny Walker?
Oh, that'd be such a good fight. That'd be such a good fight. Yeah.
I was just thinking about that right now, like as you're talking about this, and I'm like, who would be another heavyweight? Because the more that I think about what you said a few weeks back, where you're talking about how John Jones left, and now, you know, even though the division's not super stacked, you start seeing these names come up where you start thinking, like, what can they do within the division? How far can they go? And I was thinking, well, who would be somebody else that's like right on the cusp of, you know, breaking into the top 15, top 10, you know, to kind of help either Crute or this other fighter take a big step forward. And I think Johnny Walker would be a good one.
Johnny Walker would be a good one. He's ranked 9 right now. And I know they say, like, rankings don't matter, all that stuff, but whatever. Oven St. Preux, because he moved to heavyweight, huh?
Yeah.
I think, is Shogun scheduled to fight Paul Craig again, the Bear Jew?
I don't know.
If he is, I think they are. Let's see. Paul Craig would be a really good one, too.
That's a phenomenal nickname.
Let's see. Ryan Spann just fought Johnny Walker, lost to him. That would also be a good step up, you know? Yeah, Paul Craig is locked up with Shogun. Okay. Well, Paul Craig would have been a cool one, but oh well. Ryan Spann would be a good one. He's coming off a loss, though. Next week we have Serkinov versus Ankalev, finally. So maybe the loser of that would be a good one, too. But yeah, stylistically, Crute versus Walker would be so fun. Just because, you know, I mean, Jimmy the Brute Crute versus someone like Johnny Walker, who's just going to be wild and crazy. It's just going to be... That's going to be fun, dude. That'd be a fun fight.
I'll call Mick Maynard and let him know.
Oh, yeah. Give him a shout.
All right. Here we go. Chookagian versus Andrade.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Not
Andrade
the best move
is just...
to when you get hurt to the body to turn around and start walking away. I also don't know how it feels to take a body shot from Andrade. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But she's just a little power ball, man. Yeah, and she's really gotten better with her head movement and her footwork. It's something that has improved so much within her game. She used to just come straight forward, and now she's cutting angles to get forward, letting her feet get there, and then land the shots, not reaching. Man, her brute strength in the grappling situations is super cool, super fun to watch. Yeah, she's a tank. She's a fucking tank.
Yeah. And I think about Chookagian trying to get that triangle in, and she's just able to kind of get to her feet and try to slam her. And talk about a triangle defense, right? Where all you have to do is just kind of stand up and be like, okay, well, just let me threaten this power bomb, and she'll let go. Yeah, and she did that twice.
To be fair, though, she had it on the ankles. She didn't have it on the knees yet.
True.
But yeah, I mean, you got to set it up first. So while she's setting it up, let me just stand up and threaten this slam. And I mean, she has slam KOs, so you don't want to be slammed by her.
Yeah, poor Rose Namajunas.
Rest in peace.
Well, dude, I'm excited for her next fight, too.
Rose? Dude, I've been a huge Rose fan since...
Yeah, you
Since before she was fighting. Pat Barry. For real though, because she was always in those stupid
Dude,
YouTube
sure.
videos with Pat Barry.
Yeah.
Back in the day, so
Yeah.
I was always like, when she made her debut, I was like, oh shit, it's Pat Barry's girl.
Thug Rose. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else on that fight though? There's not much to it, you know. It's just she caught her with that gnarly body shot and Chookagian. I think that's just one of those things where when your body tells you to react a certain way,
Yeah.
I'm sure she didn't want to.
Yeah.
Just did you see her face? So she's like, oh,
Yeah.
like she straight, grabbed her side, turned around, and then she's like, oh fuck, I'm fighting.
Yeah.
And turned back around.
I do think it was a bad stoppage.
And then
I will
very
say that.
smart. It was what?
Bad stoppage.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I won't disagree with you on that one.
5 seconds left in the first round. She gets hit with a body
Yeah,
shot.
it's almost over.
Yeah, it's not like she was hurt to the head, which is a little different. You got to play it a little bit safer there. Give her 5 seconds. She was turtled up. She could have survived for 5 seconds, and then assess it in between rounds. If she can't continue, she can't continue. But I'm sure she popped right back up as soon as they called it. So those body shots are just weird like that, where you get shut down for a few like seconds, and then it takes a sec to come back. It's like a reboot, full system reboot, and 5 seconds left. You got to keep it going, in my opinion. It wouldn't have changed the outcome. Andrade was going to barrel through her no matter what, but not a great stoppage.
And I think you see the evolution of Andrade a little bit too, where instead of just going straight head hunting, she went right back to the body.
Believe
when
me.
Chookagian was up against the cage, and when I saw that, I was like, oh, that was crazy.
Yeah, everybody's saying, "Oh, Andrade, how is Valentina gonna stop her?" It's like, did we not just watch Adesanya versus Costa? Because it's the same fight, same exact fight, style wise. I don't see
For sure.
I don't see it being any different.
I agree, man. This next fight, though, it was a masterful performance, man.
Yeah, it bummed me out. I'm a huge Ortega fan.
Yeah.
Let me get that out of the way. Same thing with Rose. I've been watching him since before he was even a fighter. When he was just doing Henry Gracie before they even did the Gracie breakdowns, he was doing these Gracie vlogs. And what he was doing is, because remember when they started doing those like Gracie affiliate gyms throughout the country?
Yeah.
So what he was doing was, this was back in like 2009 probably. He was going kind of around the country and stopping at these Gracie affiliate gyms and like checking them out, doing little videos on them, things like that. And he would like go to a new town. He would go to a grocery store. He would buy a bunch of like fruits and veggies. He'd like give a recipe on like making these like fruit smoothie blender things, right? With their like, they had a Gracie promo code for like the Vitamix blender and shit. And I wanted one so bad when I was in high school. And and so he was like doing that. He'd go to the gym, show up the gym, do a quick little interview with whoever's running the gym. And it was sick. I would watch him all the time. He'd go to Hawaii, do it. He'd go to all these places. And every once in a while he would be sick or whatever, but he'd still be scheduled. So Brian Ortega was doing them. And he must have been, I mean, how old is he now? He's like 29 now. He must have been like 18, 20. So, I mean, it was early, and he hadn't had a fight yet, but he was always like, I mean, we all know the Brian Ortega story, how he met Henner, all this stuff now, but back then he was just kind of like someone who was always hanging around Henner Gracie. So they would always do these different technique videos, and sometimes he would do the Gracie vlogs and all this stuff. And then they started talking about how, oh, Brian's got a fight coming up. He's going to start transitioning to mixed martial arts. And I was like, oh, fuck. So I like scrounged around. I think he was an RFA. So I watched his debut, got a knockout, and I was like, didn't expect that. I was expecting jiu-jitsu. And then from there, he just took off. So obviously I've been a huge Brian Ortega fan ever since forever. But that being said, I wanted the Korean Zombie to win this fight. Probably the only guy in that division that I would root against Ortega for. So it was a little bit.
So you wanted Korean Zombie to win this fight?
Yeah, even with all that backstory. That's how much I love Korean Zombie. So
wow.
Yeah, so no disrespect to Ortega. It was one of those fights where I'm happy with whoever wins. But the way that Korean Zombie lost bummed me out just because I'm such a fan of his. So he was so close to another title shot, you know? And I think he matches up with Volkanovski so well that I was like, I could see this being his path to the belt finally. But back to the drawing board.
You know who else I think matches up with Volkanovski really well?
Brian Ortega.
Brian Ortega.
Yeah, I know.
Brian Ortega,
Yeah,
man.
he does.
His stand-up looked fantastic. And not just his striking, but his striking defense as well.
The
looked
biggest thing for me was
so much more improved.
Was this his game planning and his in the moment like adjustments and choosing what to throw. Everyone was talking about how Chan Sung Jung picked the worst fight to get gunshot. All these people, you're only as good as your last fight, right? So they're like, oh, you picked the worst fight to get gun shy in, all this stuff. Like, how's he gonna get outboxed by Ortega, a jiu-jitsu guy? And he just looked like a shell of his former self. And it's like, dude, style-wise, Korean Zombie, it's a weird style, and it's part of why he's had so much success with it. The base is I'll eat shots to land shots, right? He's also a counter striker. So you're going to go first, and he's going to counter with hooks off of your strikes. But he's also a pressure fighter with octagon control. It's weird that a counter striker is going to be pushing you against the cage. It's rare. And that's why Tyron Woodley backed up against the cage automatically against Wonderboy. So Wonderboy couldn't be on his back foot landing these crazy counters as Woodley was coming forward. So it's rare that the counter striker wants to come forward. And he had a good game plan, and he's one of the best at cutting off the cage. He's so good at cutting off the cage. So he's right there in front of you. Anytime Ortega would circle to try to get off the cage, Chan Sung Jung cuts it off right away, back on the cage. So what does Ortega have to do? Ortega has to not let him continually pressure him, and if I can't escape, I'm just going to constantly feint, I'm going to constantly jab, constantly throw things from different angles, and just stifle you and stop you from coming forward, and that's how I'm going to escape off the cage. And he did it so well. So that it was like
the level changes.
Adjustment. Yeah, the level changes were
so
good.
Dude, the jab was so quick. And then he would... Do you see where he punched him in the thigh?
Yeah.
Punches him in the thigh, punches him in the midsection. Fakes going for the ankle pick, and goes back up with a right hook.
Yeah.
And then he does try to go for the takedown. It's just constant things for Korean Zombie to think about.
Yeah, and then when he would...
what's going to be this time?
When he'd shoot that single leg, he would run the pipe and then just give up and land the right hand over the top. And it was like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, did you even want the takedown?
Korean Zombie, by the fourth, fifth round, started getting the hang of that one, right? Where he would go for the single leg, let go, and go for the right hook. And by then, Zombie... Yeah. But when he was catching him the first to the third round, man, he was catching him clean with that.
What sucks is, man, Korean Zombie was winning the second round up until he got dropped towards the end of it. He was winning the third round up until he got caught. And then Ortega hit a new gear at the end of that third round, took that one from him too. And it's something that... There's two things that play into this. I think that's kind of always been the Korean Zombie, is control, winning the fight, winning the round, staying ahead, head above water. And then in the final moments of rounds is where he kind of like... I don't know if he gets too like on autopilot or what it is, and then somebody else can make the adjustment. It's a freak thing with Yair Rodriguez, that elbow that he lands at the end of the fight. But it happened because Korean Zombie was kind of lulled into the whole like Yair gave him a hug. There was 10 seconds left, gives him a hug, gives him a high five, all this stuff. Korean Zombie's almost in this like this fight's over kind of mode. Comes in, caught with the elbow, out.
And it was over.
It was over. So there's that. He was on the course for winning those rounds, especially after a big round for Ortega to start the fight. First round was a good first round for Ortega. Second round comes around, all of a sudden Korean Zombie finds his groove. He's got him against the cage. He's landing his shots, all this stuff, but he just couldn't hang on to it. And then the other thing is, I don't want to play too much into this because I'm not. It's always like that. The armchair psychologist, the MMA psychologist, like, oh, look at how he's reacting in this moment, right? But I noticed in his walkout, once he got into the cage, he was kind of just like looking around, like checking everything out,
taking the deep breaths.
Yeah, and I was like, man, is he?
I saw that too.
I think it was kind of weird for him, and they mentioned it later on, saying like maybe he needs the crowd, but I think he was just kind of like a weird environment for him to be fighting in, mindset wise, and I think he just never really got in like the killer fighter mindset that we've seen from him. And maybe not. I don't know. I'm not trying to make an excuse for that. I'm just saying I think all these little things kind of come into play, and Ortega was able to adapt and just kind of like make his adjustments and take advantage of these things.
These little things, when you think about them not coming into play so much, maybe not when you're fighting outside the top 10.
Yeah.
But when you're fighting the number 2 fighter in the world and you're not locked in, because I saw that too, and I didn't know how much to put into it, but there's 2 times where the camera cut back to him where he goes,
yeah, he's kind of always done that.
like he just...
Yeah, but I was noticing it too.
Something about, like, he looked like he was like, okay, here we go, like type of deal, like I didn't know, I don't know, he just seemed a little off.
Yeah, definitely seemed off.
But Brian Ortega also looked
very much
fantastic, the best I've ever seen him. And I think about like his fights with like Clay Guida and all these other like quick brawls where he's losing and he just happens to catch somebody in the guillotine or something at the very end.
Not this time.
He didn't need it.
Yeah, he won every round.
So fantastic.
Yeah.
And this is the other part you were probably talking about, where at the end of the fight, whatever happened between them talking shit before, all the Twitter beef, slapping of Jay Park, you name it, like they just set it all aside. And even that little playful slap that Korean Zombie gave Ortega at the end, and they hug each other and bow, dude. A couple class acts, man.
Yeah, I think he said Korean Zombie walked up and he was like, I did trash talk, and then Ortega said something like, I'm sorry, I thought it was him, I'm sorry, and then he like does a little slap, and it's like, I knew that fight once that fight was over. Korean Zombie's so respectful and always has been, so I knew, and I
didn't expect anything less from either of them at the end of the fight.
100%, because he's always been so respectful, and that's why it was so weird that he was talking trash. That was like out of left field. It's like, this is new for him. It worked though, because he built the hype like crazy. But I knew at the end of this fight, especially with the styles that these guys have, that they're gonna earn each other's respect during this, and it's gonna be all good after. So,
and again, man, you go from this to the undercards for ESPN boxing, and I think that's why I was like, damn. Yeah. Like, UFC's awesome. Yeah, it's so just good. Mixed martial arts in general.
Yeah.
But great fight. And I was so pumped because as soon as the fight was over, in my head I was thinking, give Ortega Volkanovski.
Yeah.
If there's ever an opportunity for him to become a world champion, it is now.
Yeah.
It is now.
I mean, he's still improving. That's the crazy thing. He's still so young, I mean, he did all this in his non-dominant stance. He fought southpaw almost the whole fight. So, I mean, that was him in his non-dominant stance. Like, I want to see, like, I mean, obviously, and that's the game plan for Volkanovski, again, is leg kicks, because Korean Zombie had huge success in the first, like, few rounds with the leg kicks. It forced Ortega to fight in an opposite stance for the rest of the fight. So if I'm Volkanovski, I'm seeing that, and I'm saying, cool, going right back to my leg kicks. He has such good leg kicks in the pocket. So that's the move. The problem, though, is you get in the pocket with someone like Ortega, he can just choose to grab your neck. You know, you can't just get in these scuffles with them, because especially with their height difference, I mean, that comes into play, because if Volkanovski has to close the distance to fight someone like Ortega, because it's just the height difference, the reach advantage, and all that kind of stuff. So he has to get close. But you get close to him, he can just grab your neck from striking and then just jump guillotine.
And he went for that yesterday. Did you see that? So when he had Korean Zombie up against the cage after one of the single leg attempts, he goes up against the cage and he's like trying to just maneuver out of it, and you see him reach up for the top of his head
and Korean Zombie did a good job of really like
and he's like no.
Yeah, I wanted to see this go to the ground more, to be honest, because back in the old days of those videos, Korean Zombie was featured in a few of those videos training with Henner. So
yeah, when Henner went over to Korea and he was doing a super seminar.
So I was like,
over there.
That's why the beef bummed me out so much. I was like, no, Henner Gracie can like stop this beef. Like
he can bring peace to the land.
The ambassador, and didn't happen. But so I really wanted to see their jiu-jitsu together. But
and it's crazy because you know how much of an influence Henner is on Brian Ortega. How much Brian Ortega looks up to Henner, and how much the Gracie name means to Ortega.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you remember, but after he slapped Jay Park, Henry goes out there and puts out an apology.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, Brian goes out there and puts out an apology.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to have been in the same room where Brian Ortega walks in and then Henry walks in and just seeing Brian like, dude, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
man.
I know.
You know, and just like what the conversation looked like. I mean, probably one of the best relationships in mixed martial arts, I think, to follow.
Yeah. Other than Mike Perry and his girlfriend, that's number one.
Yeah, man. Because if you think about it, Henry and Brian, that relationship can only go so far.
Yeah. But Mike Perry's got a kid on the way.
She trains him in the corner. Dude, you name it. That's phenomenal. All right, man. Anything else from the fights?
No, not really on these ones. It was a great card. It would have been an amazing card if Cyril Gane was on it. I'm just gonna say that one last time, but yeah, not so much. Next week is the big stuff.
All right, so then this brings us, Will, to what is my favorite segment now, which is Will's Wisdom.
Yeah.
Will's Wisdom. Here we go. Week 2 of Will's Wisdom. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
They don't have to be long answers. It could be quick answers, and then we'll move on.
Yeah.
So, Brian Ortega recently shaved his head.
Yeah.
Shaved his head to make weight? Yes or no?
No.
Got it.
I think he wanted to. He talked about how he wanted to lose everything from his old self, and you saw this is Brian Ortega 2.0, game plan wise, skill wise, all this stuff, and I think the look was just another part of that.
Got it. Okay. Was it Brett Akimoto? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Had an interview with Habib. Habib says that after the damage Tony Ferguson took against Gaethje, he'll lose his next fight and probably never be the same. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Disagree.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, you're only as good as your last fight. You're only as good as your last fight. I disagree. I mean, he's taken damage before. I don't think he was. I think we're going to see him. I'm kind of happy that the McGregor versus Poirier fight is going to happen because I'd like to see Tony fight somebody, like give him a fucking break for once, you know? Like let's just see him kind of take a lesser step. I think Dustin's too aggressive for Tony now. For at least.
In comes Michael Chandler.
You know, yeah.
Here's your break.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think we're going to see the same old Tony. I think it's going to look like... I mean, when he tore his knee and then he fought Pettis, everyone was like, dude, there's no way that knee is healed. And then he looked phenomenal against Pettis. I mean, Pettis cracked him. Everybody cracks him. But, yeah, he's just such a bulldog that it doesn't matter. I think he's going to be the same. He might be completely different from now on, but I think he's going to be the same.
So DC was recently laughing about the Adesanya versus John Jones feud, and honestly, he probably is relieved at this point that he doesn't have to be feuding with John Jones. But this feud is getting pretty bad. Is a feud like this good for the sport or bad for the sport?
Yeah, it's weird to call out someone's dead mother. That's kind of fucked up, but at the same time, DC... I don't think most people remember this or even bring it up ever, but when DC and John Jones, we were there in Texas when they did that press conference. Backstage at that same press conference, John said something about because DC lost a child, right, to a drunk driver. I forgot exactly what he said, but he said something regarding that, and it was like over the line. That's way over the line. So if you're going to go over the line to anybody, it's John Jones. He deserves it. He's a piece of shit. So it's good.
Talking about shit boxes, huh?
Talking about shit boxes, man. John Jones. So yeah, I think it's good for the sport. The only reason I don't think I would say it's bad for the sport is because I don't want Izzy to fall to the temptations. I want him to stay on that path that he said he's going to be on of fighting number one contenders at middleweight until there's nobody. I really don't want to see him change courses from that. So if it's bad, if he fights John now, it's bad for the sport. I don't want it. I don't want it yet. So I want to see him fight. If Jared Cannonier wins next week, I want to see him fight him. I want to see him fight Darren Till. I want to see him fight Jack Hermanson. There's all these middleweights that I want to see him fight before he does this super fight, jumping weight divisions, all that bullshit. I just hope he stays on the course.
Which is on the table now. They were talking about Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah, I know.
Possibly fighting Adesanya.
I know.
And his team, Adesanya's team, said that this is something that he's he's thinking and considering.
Yeah, you want to see
that he considers something that'd be pretty cool.
When we were talking about how the light heavyweight division, you lose a dominant champ, and all of a sudden you see all these people. You want to stifle that and shut that down right away. You have another champion from another division fight the champ. That's how you stop that growth of the division. So let's just not do that. Let's just let this naturally play out and have champions fight contenders like it's supposed to be. And then once they clear out the divisions, that's when they fight other champions. But well, I don't know. We'll see.
Like it. So we have Kutateladze in all green like the Hulk.
Yeah.
Perez a couple weeks ago with the Joker makeup, which by the way is my favorite.
Really?
Like getup. Who has the best weigh-in getup for you?
Like currently?
Or ever?
Ever?
It's Will's wisdom, dude.
It's
You
Will's
throw it at me,
wisdom.
whatever you want.
Man. Who has the best one? Fuck.
That's a tough one, right?
Yeah.
Especially like the name right off the top of your head.
Antics or like appearance?
Appearance.
Appearance, okay.
You know what? Can I change mine?
Yeah.
Rachel Ostovich as Wonder Woman. Holy smokes.
Yeah. That's a good one.
He's like, yeah, it's all
That's
right.
a good one. Man, as far as weighing get-ups, yeah,
Don't have one?
I don't really have one, to be honest, man. I'm trying to think of like who has like. Yeah, man. I don't fuck with the Hulk thing. Looks dumb to me. I'm colorblind, so it just looks like a bad spray tan. The Joker thing it was super cringy to me.
Oh, you should have done that one then. Maybe Triple C with his little magic hat on, and when he takes the different rabbits out.
That's
and,
cringy too. And like not in a
All
good
right,
way.
we'll move on.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a get-up wise. I don't have one.
So Mike Perry says he wouldn't accept Till cornering him, even if you offered him $50,000, which breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Outside of the money, would Perry have benefited from having Till in his corner?
Yeah, probably. Because I think Till, once it came down to it, he would get serious. Like if he was actually in the corner, say we got to fight night, he's in the corner, he would take it seriously. He's not gonna.
How fun would that have been?
Would have been awesome.
Like, let's say that Perry's fighting, Till's in his corner, Till's yelling advice at him, Perry follows advice.
Yeah.
You know, Perry gets the win. What does the celebration look like after? Is there a celebration? Are they taking a selfie inside the octagon?
Yeah.
What would have happened? And I think we're never going to find out, unfortunately.
Yeah, we never will. I actually think it would work well for Perry because he's had issues with coaches telling him things and then him losing once he follows those orders. And those orders were very like grappling heavy and like wrestler heavy. And I don't think Till would have ever called for that. And I think Till has a very, very good eye for the striking game. So I think he would have, even if it's not so much like, hey, do this with your striking this next round. Even if it was just like, hey, this guy's doing this, and just putting it out there, what he's reading off the opponent, just so Perry is now aware from an outside perspective of what his opponent's doing striking wise. I think it would have worked well. But
yeah, and man, just thinking about Mike Perry, probably one of the funnest guys to watch. Darren Till, one of the funnest guys to watch. Mm-hmm. So, Perry, just take the money, let him corner you, and do this for the fans. Yeah. Do it for the fans.
He is doing,
you know what I mean?
To be fair, he is doing it for the fans. There's a Redditor that I think is going to corner him. So, that's going to be interesting. Someone from the MMA subreddit is going to be in his corner.
So we know that Masvidal has a BMF title right now, right? Who would you hand the NMF title? Would it be to Wonder Boy, Sage Northcutt, or Kasangane?
Or Kasangane. I would say Wonder Boy. And if there's anybody in my opinion that's right under Wonder Boy for that, it's Dustin Poirier. Would be the night.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And Dustin Poirier, I think, teeter-totters back and forth between the BMF and the NMF. I like your style, dude. This is why I go for Will's wisdom.
He could unify the belts.
I could just think of him like, hey, thanks, Mr. Faber. Yeah. You know, like just Sage is
Have
up there
seen
too.
Him
yeah,
recently?
he can unify.
Yeah.
He can unify.
Have you seen Sage recently?
What, ripped?
Yeah, he just bulked up to the I think the middleweight division.
He
fucking
he
massive.
bulked up from where he was before.
Yeah, he's bigger now. and it's not gonna work. That's not the answer for him, I don't think. But he's fucking massive,
All right.
dude. It's crazy.
All right. Well, still an NMF contender.
Yeah,
no
always.
matter what. Up next, Tatiana Suarez has been removed from the rankings due to inactivity. Will we ever see her make a run at the title?
Yes, I think so. Realistically, she's probably one win away from a title shot, if we're being honest. It's Rose versus Zhang Weili, right? Zhang Weili next.
Mm-hmm.
So Andrade is up a division. Ioana's still there. Esparza, Gedalia. Suarez beats everybody in that division. The only ones that I think that I wouldn't automatically pick her are those top three: Ioana, Rose, and Zhang Weili. So if she doesn't fight one of them, instant title shot. She's just gonna get it right away. So yeah, we'll see a title run from her. I don't think she's gonna retire. She keeps having all these injuries, but I think she'll make it back. If Dominic Cruz could come back and fight, she's gonna come back and fight.
Yeah. Don't say that name around me. Well, you know how I get.
I know.
Did you ever have an opportunity to see what I was talking about?
But yeah,
we'll discuss that later. Better fight. Hamzat versus Magny or Hamzat versus Till?
Magny.
Neil Magny.
Yeah, that fight. When they started talking about that being a fight, that's exactly what I want for Hamzat. Is just that steady climb. I think Magny would do very, very well if he were to if he puts on the show that he normally does when he wins, at least. Because when Neil Magny wins, he looks unbeatable. Obviously, he's not. He's lost a few times, but if he can put on that kind of a clinic against someone like Hamzat that all these eyes are on right now, that's huge for Magny. If Hamzat can do what he does against Magny, that's he earns tons of respect from the MMA community if he can beat Magny like that. I love that fight so much. That's such a good fight for him.
And I think more and more people are falling in love with Hamzat.
Yeah.
You see DC, the videos that you post, Michael Chiesa messing around with Hamzat.
Chiesa looks huge.
You see,
how did he make lightweight?
When I saw him, that's exactly what I was going to say. When I saw him do that face-off, I was like, how was he
massive
making that weight before?
Yeah.
But, and I think why we see that he's doing so much better now since he's moved up in division, because that must have been such a tough cut,
that must have been terrible.
Such a tough cut. But you see him sitting next to Dana.
Mm-hmm. The whole fight,
the whole
entire
night.
Next to Dana.
You also see a video of him posting. What's the fighter that he was showing
Phillips.
a takedown defense to? Phillips.
Who he beat in his debut.
Who he debuted against, and now he's showing some takedown defense. And you just see all these things with Hamzat, and I'm like, this guy is becoming the darling.
Yeah, he really is.
Of the UFC.
He really
very
is.
Very quickly, and I love it.
Yeah.
Because I'm on that train, and I've said it since weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I'm on that Hamzat train, so I'm very excited. Now, last one, Will, and we kind of alluded to this already a little bit earlier, but word on the streets is Adesanya wants to put his middleweight title defense on hold to fight for the light heavyweight title. Mm-hmm. This is where it's a little different from what we talked about. Better or worse for Adesanya's legacy?
If he wins, that's huge. The problem is what the UFC usually will strip somebody once they win that second belt. Light heavyweight's still pretty shallow right now, so if I would imagine he would be. The problem is once you go up in weight, it's hard to go back down. You get used to that weight cut, and you're like, that's much nicer. So it's hard to go back down, and there's still so much unfinished business at middleweight that I think, me personally, if he goes up and beats Jan, that's less impressive to me than fighting Cannonier, fighting Till, fighting Jack Hermanson, fighting all these. I want to see him fight Jacare. If Uriah Hall can somehow put it together and climb up the rankings, if he beats Anderson and maybe fights, I don't know, if Uriah Hall can win a couple fights, I would love to. I think Adesanya handles them easily, but it'd be such a fun fight, Uriah Hall versus Adesanya. But that speaks to me legacy wise way more than how many title defenses does he have now? 2?
2, I think.
That's not enough. In my opinion, you don't get to jump divisions yet. I like it more old school, how Aldo did it, how GSP did it. GSP, yeah, he won the middleweight belt also, but it was after he retired on top, came back to fight for the middleweight division. Like, I don't like the jumping up or jumping down divisions to fight the champ until you run through your division. That's what legacy is for me, is how many times did you defend your belt, not how many.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Like Conor won 2 belts, never defended his belt once, either one. So for me, that legacy means shit to me. I don't give a fuck. So someone like DC who goes up to heavyweight after pretty much clearing out the whole light heavyweight division, goes up to heavyweight. He was the first one to defend both belts, if I'm not mistaken. So that's where you start building your legacy, is once you number one contender. Now I'm gonna jump up. You know what I mean? So,
how many title defenses would you want to see before he steps up?
I think it's not a number of how many title defenses. It's a matter of how many contenders there are.
The quality of the defenses?
How many real contenders are there?
Oh, okay.
So if he beats, so what's the middleweight division right now? So he's beaten Whitaker, he's beaten Costa, he's beaten Yoel, right? He's beaten Brunson, Gastelum. So if Cannonier gets past Whitaker, that's the fight. I need to see that fight. If that fight doesn't happen, I'll lose a ton of respect for Adesanya. If he beats Whitaker, he has to beat him. If Hermanson gets another win, he has to fight him. If Till puts some things together, he has to fight him. I wouldn't mind a Gastelum rematch. There's just so many fights in that division. That division's so stacked that so many people are just a few wins away from a title fight. So if someone earns their title fight and he's not there to defend it, that's a huge knock on him, in my opinion. So that, for me personally, I don't want to see him switch divisions until there's nobody left. You know?
Okay. Sweet. That's all I got.
I like it.
Do you have anything else?
No, I like it.
No? Well, that was another week of Story of the Fight, another week of Will's wisdom. Thanks for listening, everybody. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Story of the Fight. We really appreciate everybody's support. If you don't mind hitting the subscribe button, and when you do subscribe, make sure that you hit the notification button as well. That way you get notified whenever we upload anything new. Don't forget to hit the like button. It goes a long way for us. And leave some comments. We love interacting with everybody.
Yeah, and if you want to stay even more up to date, you can follow us at Story of the Fight on Instagram and Twitter. And you can email us at storyofthefight@gmail.com. Ask questions, give us feedback, critique us. We want to make this better, and input helps us do that.
Thanks for listening to Story of the Fight, everybody.